What's going on, guys? It's ETAPRIME back here again. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Flydigi WEE 2 mobile telescopic controller for Android or iOS. Mainly, I'm going to be using this for Android, but I have tested it with my iPhone, and you can map it for PUBG if you need. If you're a regular viewer of the channel, you've probably seen me test out a lot of these mobile controllers, from the telescopic controllers to just the phone clips for the Xbox One S controller. But recently, I did a review on the Saitake 700X mobile controller, and this is hands down my favorite controller for Android or iOS. It has everything I need: D input, X input, and it even supports several button mapping applications for Android games that don't natively support controllers, like PUBG. But today we're going to be taking a look at the Flydigi WEE 2 because I had several viewers mention this in the comments on that last video. So retail on the WEE 2 is around $30 to $45 depending on where you get it. You can buy it on eBay or Amazon. I picked mine up on Amazon for about $42. Inside of the box, you're obviously going to receive the controller itself. It does support up to a 6.3-inch screen phone, and some 6.3-inch screen phones may not fit because the bezels are a bit bigger. The very first thing I notice is it doesn't have L3 and R3 built in by pushing down on the analog sticks, and that's kind of unfortunate because I usually use these for hotkeys and emulators. It does come with an English and a Chinese user manual. It also comes with this stand for holding your phone or smaller tablet. And the stand does come in handy for the next part. The Flydigi WEE 2 actually has a full-size USB port, and it comes with this little adapter so you can connect a mouse and a keyboard. You can set your tablet in the stand and play PUBG with a mouse or keyboard if you want to. And finally, we get our micro USB charging cable. The WEE 2 controller features 8 usable face buttons, plus we have our sync button, a full-size D-pad that actually feels really great with a pivot point in the middle, and 2 analog sticks on the front. Like I mentioned, the analog sticks do not have L3 and R3 built in. 4 trigger buttons: R1, R2, L1, and L2. Not much going on around back, but there is a QR code you could scan with your phone so you can download the Flydigi mapping app. Now there's 2 modes to this controller: the Flydigi mode, or Classic, which actually uses X input. Unfortunately, I cannot find a way to boot it up into X input mode, so I do have to sync it in Flydigi mode and then switch it inside of the Flydigi application. If anybody out there knows how to boot this up directly into Classic or X input mode, please let me know in the comments below, and I'll add a note in the description. On the bottom right hand side of the controller, there is a status LED. We also have our power switch and our micro USB in for charging up the controller. On the lower left-hand side of the controller, we have another status LED and a full-size USB 3.0 port. Personally, I don't think this is going to be running at full USB 3.0 speeds, but it still gets the job done for plugging in your mouse and keyboard with the included adapter. Setup with the WEE 2 is really easy. Now, Flydigi states that it'll fit up to a 6.4-inch phone, but like I mentioned, make sure your bezels aren't too thick. This is the Red Magic 3, which is much larger than 6.5 inches, and as you can see here, it's just not going to cut it. But the Galaxy S10 fits perfectly. So like I mentioned, I haven't found a way to start this up in Classic mode, otherwise known as X input mode, and that's mainly what I use for my emulators on Android. So you will have to download the Flydigi app. It is free from the Play Store. But syncing this up is real easy. We're going to turn it on, hold the menu button till we get that rapidly flashing blue light, go into our settings, Bluetooth. It'll scan for it, find it right here, and it should sync right up. Another big reason I like to use X input mode on Android is you have full control over the operating system. You can navigate through the menus easily with X input, but the way this syncs up out of the box, you just can't navigate the menu. So in order to change the mode or even use the controller correctly, you will have to have a third-party app. This is the Flydigi Game Center, free on the App Store, and it actually works really well. The overlays are fully customizable. I'm in the test menu right now. We got analog sticks, all the buttons work right. So what this is going to do is map an overlay on the screen. So when you press the corresponding button, it will act like a tap on the screen in the certain spot you place that button. But swapping to Classic mode, otherwise known as X input mode, is pretty easy from within the app. It does take a few seconds to reconnect. And now that we switched modes, we can use the buttons to back up. We have a home button. We can navigate the full Android menu. So we could go into any emulator we want and as long as the emulator supports controllers, this controller will work inside of it. A lot of people will be buying a controller like this just to play PUBG or other games that don't support controllers, so we're going to switch back to the Flydigi mode or overlay mode, and most of the games that I have installed that don't natively support controllers already have a profile set up, like PUBG. So we'll go ahead and start this up, and as you can see, we have the overlay. You can adjust the sensitivity, and you can adjust where the buttons are placed. So if we go to the Flydigi menu, you can sort it out from here. I'm just going to click ignore or back because the profile that's included with the Flydigi app works great. So I've already played through one round, and I really need to get used to these analog sticks because they are a bit smaller than even the Nintendo Switch's sticks. And one thing you need to watch out for when using an overlay app is being banned from PUBG. I've actually had it happen to me using the application called Octopus, but it was immediately as soon as I started the game, it detected it. I haven't had any issues with this, but that's something you need to keep in mind. Now it's time to switch back to classic mode so I can get into some emulation. I'm going to be testing out Dreamcast using the Redream emulator, and I haven't had to set any of the controls up in the emulator because it's working in X input mode. So all of the main emulators from the Play Store will work with this controller without any setup at all unless you want to adjust something, like EPSXE, RetroArch, Mupin64 plus FZ, Drastic, and even the Dolphin emulator, but you will have to map it inside of the Dolphin application. Alright, so before I wrap this up, I did want to test out mouse and keyboard functionality with the Flydigi adapter. So basically what we have here is the Flydigi adapter plugged into the Wii 2 controller. The controller is then paired to the phone with Bluetooth. I also have to power the adapter from a 5-volt power supply, and then I plugged in my mouse and keyboard to the Flydigi adapter. So it's a bit cumbersome to set up, and to tell you the truth, I'll probably never use this feature again after this video. So as soon as I plugged in power to the Flydigi adapter, it detected it as the keyboard input. It's going to use the same type of overlay system here. I'm going to start up PUBG, and we'll see how it performs. The same thing here with the overlay. You can fully adjust it if you need to, but I find that out of the box works pretty well. So overall, I gotta say, using the keyboard and mouse has been really smooth with the Flydigi adapter. I did have one instance where I was stuck looking straight up in the sky, but I pressed the E key on my keyboard and it straightened right out. I'm not exactly sure what happened there. Might have been a Bluetooth issue, but it's fully playable like this and it's really smooth. And yeah, this is definitely cheating because aiming is so easy with this mouse compared to the touch controls. So after spending a couple days with the Flydigi WEE 2, I've come to the conclusion that this is actually a really decent controller. The analog sticks are a little smaller than I would like. The D-pad is actually excellent on this thing. It has that pivot point in the middle. The buttons aren't too mashy or clicky, but I think this controller should mainly be geared towards people who want to play Android games that don't natively support controller. But as for emulation, I'm really not a big fan of the WEE 2 because we have to have that app to switch over to classic mode. Now yes, you could always program the on-screen controls in emulators, but it's just so much easier to already have it in X input mode and start playing. Another awesome choice for Android gaming is the Xbox controller with the phone clip. You have to make sure that you have the Xbox One S controller that supports Bluetooth, but it works great. And you're not going to find any of these cheaper controllers that have dead zones and buttons that feel quite as good as the Xbox One controller. So if it came down to it and I had to choose between the Flydigi WEE 2 and the Saitake 7007X, because I use emulators more than native Android games, I'd go with the Saitake 700X. If it was the other way around, I'd definitely pick up the Flydigi WEE 2. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I really appreciate you watching. If you're interested in picking up any controller I showed in this video, I'll leave links in the description. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. It'd also be really cool if you could hit that like button, maybe subscribe to the channel, but like always, thanks for watching.